This is Ken Mercer of Mercer Moments in American History. Today is a special current event where I'm asking for prayers for moms and dads from the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland. These are parents who have just appealed and appeared before the highest court in our country, the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States. These moms and dads believe they are fighting for the protection of their youngest children, including 4- and 5-year-olds. They're complaining that some of the materials, the books and curriculum that have been added, offered by the state of Maryland, a school in the state of Maryland, are highly sexualized. Highly sexualized, and the agenda is contrary to the faith and value of these parents. Now, they're just asking for a chance to opt out. They're not asking to remove books. Now, the media will try to tell you that this is about book banning, book burning. That's just a lie. The parents are saying, no, we're saying the material, we object to it. It's objectionable due to our faith and our values, and we're not asking to remove any materials. We're just asking for the right as moms and dads to opt out, our sons and daughters, including 4- and 5-year-old children. Now, these parents have persevered. Listen close to what I'm saying. They have lost every step of the way, and I call these moms and dads from the state of Maryland my Hebrews 12:1 moms and dads. If you're a believer, you follow Hebrews chapter 12 is what I call perseverance. It talks about running the race, and running the race as hard as you can, and finishing the race, completing the race. That's why I call it perseverance. Well, these moms and dads have followed the process. First, they had a complaint. They went to their school, and they lost. They went to their county school board and lost. They went to their state board of education of Maryland, and they lost. It's been going on for 2 years now. Then they went to the state courts and lost. Then they went for a federal judge, say, hey, as moms and dads, don't we have the right to opt out our children, especially if we believe it's a violation of our religious freedom, of our faith and values? They lost at the federal judge. And then they went to the federal appeals court, the second highest court they could in Virginia. For in their case, the appeals court was the state of Virginia and Maryland. They went there, and they lost again. And now, by a miracle of God, they're appearing before the Supreme Court of the United States, what I call the SCOTUS. I say a miracle of God because the Supreme Court only takes a very, very small percentage of cases. And they chose to review this case. I believe this will be a landmark case for parental rights and the freedom of religion of moms and dads. This is Ken Mercer. I'm a report. I'll let you decide, but I am asking for prayers for the moms and dads in the state of Maryland, and prayers for the 9 men and women of our United States Supreme Court. In the next few weeks, they've already heard the case. In the next few weeks, they're going to come back to their decision. And I ask for prayers. Do moms and dads have the right to be moms and dads? And do they have the right as parents to opt out their children? Again, our report, you decide, and I'm going to read from the actual transcripts of the Supreme Court, what was actually said in the courtroom of our nation's highest court. I'm going to begin a level set of 2 key items. This case is different from a case I presented you 2 weeks ago, also the state of Maryland, but a young high school senior, a young Christian girl who 2 years ago, the same time frame, the same state, the same county, she took the required health class. But the health class had changed. The students didn't change it. Moms and dads didn't change it. The school board changed the class and introduced this new curriculum, which this young high school senior, a 4.76 GPA, a 1,450 on her SAT, the top 5% in the country, they found the new materials and the book's curriculum to be objectionable to their faith and values, and they even cited anti-Christian bias, Christian discrimination. She was denied the right to graduate, an honor student. I share that with you. It's a different case, but the same state, the same county. This has gone to the Maryland Supreme Court. And the second thing I get attacked on is this: Mr. Mercer, this is just another Christian right-wing radical group going against the school board and the state of Maryland. Well, listen to me. The Council for the Parents at the Supreme Court is representing a coalition of moms and dads, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, depending on how you pronounce it. Parents of three different faiths, a coalition of parents, Christian, Muslim, and Jewish, who each found this material objectionable to their faith and values. And again, don't listen to the media. They're not asking to ban a book or burn a book. No, they're saying we want the right as moms and dads to opt out of certain material that we find objectionable. And I will tell you again, this material, the students didn't change it, the moms and dads didn't change it, the school board, they changed the curriculum. Again, the Supreme Court's already heard this case, and I'm going to share with you now some quotes that came from the exact presentations, the exact hearings of the Supreme Court of the United States. The parents are basically asking, can we just be parents? Can we be moms and dads? In fact, the quote of their counsel to the Supreme Court, a matter of public record, said, quote, "Let us be the parents. Keep us involved in the school decision-making process. Don't try to cut us out." Let me repeat that, because that's key to the argument. Let us be the parents. Keep us involved in the school decision-making process. Don't try to cut us out, us being the moms and dads. Now, I must tell you, I was blessed to be an elected state official in Texas for 16 years, the State House of Representatives, where I served in the Committee of Higher Education, and 14 years in the State Board of Education on curriculum and charter schools and finance. I was blessed to serve over 5.5 million children, over 9,000 campuses in Texas. And my opposition would always say, Mr. Mercer, the number one correlation of success in education is parental involvement. Remember that. The number one correlation of success in education is parental involvement. And I agree with that. I applaud that. But let me ask you, are the parents being involved here? Is that happening here in the state of Maryland? What had happened, the Montgomery County Public Schools in the state of Maryland, they began this new series called the Inclusivity Initiative. Inclusivity Initiative, a new curriculum. Again, I'm going to stress this. This is so important. The students didn't change. Moms and dads didn't change. The school board changed. And the parents found this material objectionable for the elementary, even including 4 and 5-year-old children. Now, to be fair, the Parents Coalition in their statement said initially, the school board, quote, initially honored parental opt-outs in accordance with their own guidelines in the Maryland law. Well, that was their own guidelines. That was the Maryland state law that moms and dads be given the right to opt out. And when I hear that, I go, well, why is this case at the Supreme Court? Why wasn't this settled immediately at a lower court if that's the law? Initially, that's what happened. The parents had a right to opt out, but apparently the school board reversed that. The Montgomery County School Board said in March of 2023, again, this has been going on for 2 years, quote, concerns about absenteeism and administrative burden made them change direction. Now, if you're in the real world of the business and your customers don't want your product, it raises a red flag, right? Concerns about absenteeism and administrative burden. So, in the parents' briefing, it says, quote, without explanation, it being the Montgomery County School Board, it announced that beginning with the 2023-2024 school year, students and family may not choose to opt out and will not be informed when these books are read. Key change there, and that's why we're here. That's why it's gone to so many sessions so far, and now the United States Supreme Court. The school board changed and said because so many people are being absent and the administrative burdens, they don't want this class. They don't want this curriculum. We decided to say, parents can no longer opt out. And we're not going to tell you when that material, when it's going to be read in class. Now, let me share with you some of the quotes from, again, the soundbite. You can find them online for the actual Supreme Court Justice. The first I'm going to share with you is Justice Neil Gorsuch. Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch began, and I'm going to begin with his quote. Again, online, you can read the materials. You can hear it for yourself. One of the school board members at that time had an interview, and it's in the court papers. There was a student who objected to these new books and curriculum. And that school board member in the interview said this student was parroting dogma. Parroting, being like the animal, the bird, a parrot. Parroting dogma passed on by her parents. Wow. And then that school board member compared the complaints to those of white supremacists who opposed civil rights laws. So I guess if you're a 4 or 5-year-old child or first, second grader and you complain, you're just parroting mom and dad who are probably white supremacists. Wow. Justice Gorsuch hit the nail on the head, and I thank him for entering that into the court to be heard. Justice Amy Coney Barrett also expressed concern about the curriculum. So are we just trying to express these kids to different ideas? Which is what the school board said. The school board said, we're just trying to give them another point of view. She said, are we trying to impress upon these students that this is the right view of the world and how you should think about things? You heard me talk before, my other programs about what is education versus indoctrination. What is classroom education versus political indoctrination? Just my comment to the side. That's not in the court hearings, but my comment when I hear this. One of the books in the curriculum they're concerned about said, what are your words? Asking the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old children, what are your words? Your pronouns can change, quote, like the weather, end of quote. Your pronouns, am I he, a she, I, we, them? Those can change like the wind. Justice Samuel Alito asked, why isn't it feasible? Again, just to allow moms and dads to opt out. Justice Brett Kavanaugh added, again, I'm not understanding why it's not feasible. So here we have two justices, Samuel Alito and Brett Kavanaugh, considered to be conservatives of the court, Supreme Court, who are saying, why isn't it feasible? What I'm hearing is, why is this case before the Supreme Court if it's the law that moms and dads have the right to review materials and opt out? Why did this go to the school board, to the state board of education, to the state courts, to the federal courts, all the way to the Supreme Court? Why isn't that feasible just to allow moms and dads to opt out? Now, Justice John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, he said that the school board had an argument saying that just because we bought these books, and they bought them with taxpayer money, just because we bought these books and we put them in the classroom and we're going to make the kids read these books, it doesn't mean we're requiring the children to affirm or support the material or affirm and support the content of these books. Think about that. Just because we bought the books, we put them in the classroom, and the kids have to read the books, it doesn't mean they have to agree with what's in there. And the Chief Justice, John Roberts, said, quote, is that a realistic concept when you are talking about a 5-year-old? Wow. And then Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Barrett, again, she said, quote, it's not just exposure to an idea, right? She says it's saying that this is the right view of the world and how we think about things, or how we should think about things. She compared it to, like, you're saying like 2 + 2 is 4. Well, you can see the concern there. Is it education, in my words? Is it indoctrination? A liberal justice Supreme Court, I will not mention the name, but you can listen to it, said, if the school teaches something that the parent disagrees with, you have a choice. You don't have to send your kid to that school. I was shocked at that comment. I thought, is that a matter of humor? Was that a commercial for school choice with no government strings? If the school teaches something the parent disagrees with, you have a choice. You do not have to send your child to that school. Wow. And anybody knows that if you change another school, there's usually a fee inter-district, another public school, or a fee to go to a private school. And everyone knows if you change a kid to another public school, another county, you're paying for the transportation, and sometimes there's a district transfer fee. And I would suggest this is the school your taxes are going to, and they're saying just go somewhere else. I think about the millions of inner city moms and dads, often low income or single parents, who are just praying for a good school and a safe school. A good school and a safe school. That's all they want. What do they do when they're confronted with this and they're told, just go to another school? Well, I'm going to end today. This is Ken Mercer, Mercer Moments in American History, again with a current event, what will become a landmark case in American history. The decision should come out in the next few weeks from the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States. Do parents have rights? Do moms and dads have rights? I've got to remind you again, these parents, I have to applaud and pray for them. They followed the process correctly. They went to their local school, they lost. They went to their county school board in Maryland, they lost. They went to the Maryland State Board of Education, God bless them, they lost. And they still persevered. They lost at the state courts. They went to a federal judge, the first level of federal appeal. A federal judge asked for the right to opt out on sons and daughters, even 4- and 5-year-old children. They lost. They went to another state, Virginia. That's where the Court of Appeals was for Virginia and Maryland. They lost again. And then they went and they appeared before the Supreme Court of the United States, who will decide in the next couple of weeks. I will remind you, these parents are not asking to burn or ban books. No, that's what the media will tell you. They're asking for the right to opt out their precious sons and daughters, even 4- and 5-year-old children, from materials they find objectionable. And I remind you again, it's not a bunch of right-wing Christian type people. These are Jewish, Christian, and Muslim moms and dads who have come together. And all three of them say this is objectionable to our faith and our values. Pray for the moms and dads, and pray for the 9 members of our United States Supreme Court. Again, Ken Mercer, Mercer Moments in American History. Thank you. May God bless you.